It is crazy how fast AI is developing, and you and I are discussing even the different things that I'm doing with AI to be able to teach an avatar to be like you. And I think it blows the minds for a lot of different people. You and I are, you're obviously a different generation than I am, but we both have this passion for this crazy technology that is just a game changer for people. Why do you think so many people are afraid just to jump in and start to use it? Hey, welcome to Networking Star. Here on Networking Star, I interview some of the coolest entrepreneurs and thought leaders on the internet. I am your host, Jeffery Boyle, and today I am joined by John Mendez. He is an AI expert and marketer for real estate agents, and he helps non-tech savvy agents get out on the internet and social media. John, thanks for being with me.
Jeffrey, pleasure to be here, man. I'm honored when you reached out, and I was excited to have this conversation with you because I know you have a lot of amazing things that you have going on yourself. So excited to just do this podcast with you.
Well, as we got to know each other, you started off as a real estate agent, and then you got involved with social media, and then you all of a sudden started to become an AI expert. Of course, you're 22, so all of that comes completely natural. So you've probably got a lot of old dudes and ladies that maybe not, don't have the expertise that you have. How did you get, just totally involved with AI the way that you are now?
Yeah, so I got licensed as a real estate agent about 2 weeks after I turned 20. This is about 2 years ago now. And then from there, I was in all the trainings. I was so focused. I was like, I'm going to become the top agent, rookie of the year. And along the way, one of the agents in my office, she was on a bunch of like mastermind calls and she was very connected. So I was like, all right, I need to redo my morning routine. So I started hopping on some of the calls that she hopped on. And there's this one call called Early Birds Talking Real Estate. It's from 6:30 to 7 a.m. Eastern time. And I was in the gym normally at the time. So when they were talking about social media one day in January of 2022, I was like, dang, I can't share because, everyone in the gym is always grunting and dropping weights and there's always weird noises going on. So I couldn't share. So I was like, screw it. You know what? I'll just type it up and post it in the Facebook group and hopefully they find it valuable. And I swear it was like 5 simple totes. It was nothing like high level or some, ad strategy to generate more leads. It's nothing crazy. It was just 5 quick, simple like post tips. And then from there, one of the hosts of the call was like, hey, John, do you mind teaching the class? And I was like, I never taught a class before. And instead of her saying, okay, for whatever reason, she said, John, let us know when you want it scheduled. And then from there, my first class ended up getting 440 people sign up for it. And that led to another class and a couple more classes. Eventually in January of 2023, so I was kind of getting known as like the social media expert. In January 2023, I was using ChatGPT already since like December 2022, but I joined a mastermind. And in that mastermind, the guy had a class pretty much teaching you how to create a course using AI. So I watched it and I was like, all right, how can I bring this to real estate? And now at that point in time, now I already stopped focusing on real estate as an agent, but I continued teaching them marketing. So I still had a lot of connections in the real estate space. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to use what he did to create a course, but instead to create a presentation, like a webinar. And so that's what I did. I used ChatGPT and Tome.app to create a webinar. And from there, I presented it. I think I had like a little close to 300 people sign up for it. Then I uploaded to a workshop. And then I was like, whoa. Because I made about $4,000, which to me was a ton of money at the time. It still is a lot of money. And I was like, all right, there's something here. Because prior to that, all my social media trainings were all free because I never did it to start a business. And then after that first ChatGPT class, I was like, man, there's something here. And that's what kind of birthed this whole AI marketing thing that I have going on.
Well, it is crazy how fast AI is developing, and you and I are discussing even the different things that I'm doing with AI to be able to teach an avatar to be like you. And I think it blows the minds for a lot of different people. You and I are, you're obviously a different generation than I am, but we both have this passion for this crazy technology that is just a game changer for people. Why do you think so many people are afraid just to jump in and start to use it? You jumped completely and you dove in, whereas a lot of people now are just paying you because they're afraid to jump in. Why do you think some people are afraid of it?
So to get a little philosophical, it's not that I'm not afraid. It's that I'm afraid of something else. So I'm afraid of being blindsided. So for me, the only viable option is to get a hold on all this and is to stay on the front lines of all this stuff so that I don't get hit with a curveball later down the road. So that's the fear that drove me, because I'm scared. I'm just scared of a different thing. People are scared to hop in. I'm scared to get blindsided in the future. So that was like, my only option is to learn this stuff and be on the front lines of this stuff. Also, I seen the practical, like the practical uses that I could implement into my business very early on. I started off by using it for simple show notes and subtitles for my own podcast. And then from there, I like to think of at least ChatGPT, but AI in general, as like going bowling for the first time. And usually when you go bowling, there's not railings up unless you go to like mini bowling or something like that. But the railings aren't up, right? So if you bowl and you throw it a little off, it can end up in the gutter, right, on either side. And that's kind of what AI is like. So when you hop in, you can easily get caught up in the gutter. But it's like that, I think, brings a lot of hesitancy in most people, knowing that there's no like guard rails or training wheels. But for someone like me who's just extremely creative, I just think of like a bunch of different use cases. I don't know if any of them make sense, but I just go and try it out. So I think the number one thing stopping people is that they go in and it's not like you go into a little kiddie pool. You're going and you're in the middle of the like Atlantic Ocean with no floaty, and there's all these different fishes and things to use and features and bells and whistles. And it's just, you're in the middle of the ocean. What now? Right? And there's no real guidebook on how to incorporate it. And some people don't have the creativity to see how it could be useful to their business. I think that's probably the big thing stopping most people.
I watched a video from, I think it was like 1980, and it was this advertising agent. Well, he owned TV stations and radio stations and things like that. And when he, when TV replaced radio, so many people were freaked out that it was going to make them obsolete. And everybody's always afraid of the newest program making them obsolete, where the human creativity still drives AI. So it takes a creative person to get the most out of AI and to make it sound great. Anybody can put in a simple prompt into ChatGPT and have it create a recipe. But if you're going to create some great advertising or some great copy, it takes a person that knows how to really massage it and make it work. And as good as it gets, people are still attracted to the person who can make that instrument play the proper way. So as you teach, you have all these people now doing it. And tomorrow, for example, I'm teaching a bunch of insurance agents on how to get the most out of it. But it comes down to creativity, that's up in your head. And so how is it that you think that you are different, and how do you teach people to really make that instrument, play the best, and to be able to make it sound as much like them?
Yeah, I always think of it as like 3 simple steps, right? You have to frame it first. So that's usually act as a marketing specialist, or imagine you are a copywriting expert, or now you are sales GPT, or whatever, however you want to frame it, but give it in its own identity, which I feel then puts ChatGPT or whatever AI, let's say for ChatGPT specifically, it gives them a frame to now answer things. But even though it has that frame, so let's say one of the ones I use is Dan Kennedy. He's a big time marketing guy. He's also very a little more older, in the older generation. So there's already a lot of information on him out available. So most, I guess, chatbots already informed on Dan Kennedy. And then from there, I give it context. So this is where I say, all right, here's my target audience. Here's what I specifically need. So step 1 is like, all right, act as a marketing specialist or whatever. Step 2 would be then, all right, here's my target audience. Here's a little bit about me, my business, my writing style, my tone of voice, my business unique value proposition. Give a little bit about me. And then only after you do those 2 first steps, then you put in whatever prompt you need. And I think that's how you kind of get the best out of it. And one of my friends, he's a real estate agent over in Syracuse. He was like, so we're Keller Williams agents. He was like, John, I want to have ChatGPT just become like my business partner and help pretty much fund me. And I was just thinking, and I said, I was just coming up with ideas. And I was like, all right, so, well, there's a lot of free resources. And there's a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I was like, well, there's an ebook available. ChatGPT has a plugin called Chat with PDF that can analyze PDFs. And so I was like, well, you could also just get the ebook, right? And then from there, have ChatGPT analyze it. And then the book already talks about all the different Keller Williams models. Have the ChatGPT trained on now all the KW models that it preaches, and then from there have that construct your business plan, which he's doing now. And so now he has pretty much his own almost real estate coach that he can go back to. But it's like, depending on how you want to use it. For me, another use case was I want to use it to create video scripts. So there's another plugin in ChatGPT called Chat with Video, if I'm not mistaken. And from there, I had to analyze all the top YouTube videos on how to create a video outline. And so instead of me watching all the videos, I had ChatGPT watch all the videos. And then from there, I created a different conversation thread. And then I looked up on YouTube how to create the best YouTube title. Had ChatGPT analyze those videos and then create its own unique formula. And then I had another conversation thread, right, where it's like I had ChatGPT look up how to create the best hook and then analyze it and create its own unique formula. So now I have a unique formula for video scripts, hooks, and titles. I took those three formulas and then I opened up a brand new conversation thread in ChatGPT and then put those three formulas into the new conversation thread. So now in that new thread, if I put in a topic, it'll automatically generate a title and a perfect, quote unquote, perfect YouTube script for me to use. And then that's my rough draft. And then I tweak a little things here and there. And then boom, I have a almost perfect YouTube video script to follow. It's like, it's all about having the creativity and knowing what you need help with, and then getting creative around problem solving. As entrepreneurs, that's what we get paid to do, is solve problems. So it's like, let that problem solving muscle run loose.
Well, it is crazy what you can do with the new things that are coming out when you're creative enough to be able to put those solutions together. And I love what you just said. You're at 22, you're now successful in teaching a lot of people that are far more successful in other industries how to be more successful in their industry. As a 22-year-old, what do you tell other young entrepreneurs that are out there that maybe they're intimidated, that they don't have the experience or they don't have the connections to start off a business?
Yeah, the thing I always love to say, so there's a concept called Ikigai that helped me a ton. And so one of the circles is pretty much ask you, what are you good at? And I changed that one circle into what you have the aptitude to be good at. And the reason I did is because most cases, the fish is the last one to realize it's in water. So I didn't start doing the social media stuff because I knew I was a social media expert. I didn't actually think of myself as a social media expert because everyone my age uses social media, just what our age grew up with. So I didn't value that skill, but it took someone externally to come in and see like, hey, John, like, I need your help. And if that wouldn't have happened, my whole trajectory would have been entirely different. I would have not probably been on any of this social media AI stuff that I am, the way I'm doing it now, at least. So seek people who are more successful for you, because they'll be able to see the skills that you have that you may not see for yourself because you're not in the right frame of mind. We also tend to be our most harshest critics.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's also the biggest reason why we don't see what we're good at and what we could call valuable. But the biggest thing I'd say is to find ways to help out wherever you can. So when I got into real estate, as I said, I started hopping on some of these mastermind calls. Before I was actually teaching a social media class, there's one call where they were practicing sales scripts. And on Fridays, I can remember this vividly, they would always have like Question Friday, where we'd have one objection and then everyone would just, say their best objection handler on Zoom. And so I would be in the chat typing up all the best objection handlers, right? Something that literally anyone could do. I would just type them up. And then most people, they would save the chat and upload it to the Facebook group. I took it a step further. I saved the chat, put it into a Google Doc. And then, of course, there's always a little bit of banter that goes on in the Zoom chat. So I deleted all the banter and just left only the sales questions. And then I would upload that on a nice little Google Doc into the Facebook group. And that's how I started to make a little bit of a name for myself. And then every Friday, even if my camera was off, like, hey, John, can you type up? It's like every Friday. So that's what it started off. And then eventually I made that quick little Facebook post. And it's always trying to come from contribution and provide value. And you get around the right people. Alex Harmozy was talking about this the other day. I seen an Instagram post and it was like someone's dad had an old car and said, go to the dealership and ask how much it's worth. They said, hey, we'll give you about $1,000, right? And then they said, all right, now go to the other, the scrap metal shop. I was like, all right, we'll give you $500. And then from there, he said, all right, now go to the antique car shop and there they gave him, $100,000 for the
Nice.
car. So it's all about, you get around the right people and they'll value what you have to offer as long as you keep on coming from contribution and seeing ways that you could help out.
Well, I love what you're talking about, and uh, yeah, as we discussed, obviously we're from different generations. My oldest son is 23, so he's right around your age. But I love to be able to learn from him. In fact, he's the one who introduced me to AI, and now I've made almost a career out of AI based upon what he taught me 6 months ago. That it completely reoriented my world and became a game changer for it. I also love what you said, that you add value to the relationships. That is one of the best ways in the world for a new entrepreneur to be able to be mentored by an existing very successful entrepreneur, is to be able to add value. Talk about the importance of mentorship. It is, to me, a crucial part to a new entrepreneur. Even though that mentor may not have been successful at what you're doing, that mentor has likely been where you are now. How important have mentors been to you as you've progressed in your career?
Yeah, I'll preface my answer with a quote, right? A smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. I always, even before I got into entrepreneurship, because this is all very new to me in the grand scheme of things, I always was very open-minded, always open to new perspective. And that for me helped me gain a lot more wisdom very early on in my life. And so for me, that just started to compile. So then once I did get into entrepreneurship, I already had all this wisdom kind of built up from all the people, from being open-minded, from being curious. And so when I came into entrepreneurship, then it's like, oh, wow, I have already a good head on my shoulders to start off. Although I don't know anything about business or anything, I already had a pretty decent head on my shoulders. And so from now, every time I leveled up or got to the next stage, it was because of someone. I hate the term self-made millionaire because it is the biggest lie told on the internet. I think everyone who has that, put them out in the wilderness, right, with no one else to survive, and see how self-made they really are. Everything we do is because we have other people. Everything. And knowing that if you want to go fast, you can go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And I have a very big vision of where I want to take this journey. And so for me, I've always sought counsel whenever I had something that I didn't understand, whether it was through YouTube, whether it was through a podcast. Sometimes mentorship isn't people that you actually have direct access to, right? It may be a book. It may be some of their courses. It may be a YouTube channel. It may be a coach. It may be a mastermind. I told you I joined one for the first time. My first paid mastermind I joined in January of this year, but I was in like real estate masterminds. I was going to conferences. I was attending everything I could attend to learn from people who have already taken a road that I wanted to travel down so that I could advance my progress and skip some of the mistakes that they've made. Because I think it's ego that holds a lot of people back, and it's like, oh, I'll figure out myself. And it's like, well, I already got burned. If I could prevent you from getting burned so that you can just go have the success, I think that'll be a better option for most people. But for whatever reason, they're just like, nah, I'll insist on getting burned. And I'll get burned myself, and then I'll make a decision from
Waste
there.
a bunch of time,
And
waste
for
a
me,
bunch
it's
of
like,
money, and then that's I think a ton of people are in that. Let's screw around before I go get the answers. You're right. The mentor is the person that has been where you are, but now has what you want. And you're right, to be able to rent the mistakes that they've made gets you so much further along. John, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, so the best way to start me at, if you're interested in learning about ChatGPT, I have a free course. And if you go to stopandstare.media/ChatGPT, that'll be the best place to get your top 3 strategies to dominate your market using ChatGPT. It's a free course. I came from a workshop that I had that had roughly over 350 people sign up for it. Of course, no one wants to sit through a 6-hour workshop, so I pretty much took all the information and jam-packed it into a mini course for you guys. So that would be the best way to get in touch.
Well, and what I want to know is why is it that so many young entrepreneurs make so many mistakes for so long before they finally find their footing?
I think what it comes down to is everything sounds good when you're young, because unlike people who waited to get into the game, we have time on our side. And with enough time and repetition, you could be good at almost anything. So it's like every opportunity actually is a good opportunity if you put enough time and reps into it. So then it makes everything so distracting. And so I think focus is probably the biggest one. At least in my case, it's been focused. It wasn't that I wasn't hardworking or ambitious. It wasn't that there was a lack of information or a lack of guidance or mentorship. It was just my ability to stay focused for a long enough period of time on one thing and let nothing else deter me from my path. I think that is probably the biggest thing that allowed me to start finding my stride. Last year, I was all everywhere. I was trying to do the social media, my podcast, my real estate agent stuff. So still working at a restaurant, and it looked good from the outside, but nothing actually was getting moving. And this year, I really dialed back on a lot of other things and solely focused on the marketing stuff and the podcasting. And now I have so much more bandwidth to really move those things forward. So focus would probably be my answer.
Well, I think it's an incredible answer because when you're young, you think that you have so much time, and that time goes away very fast. It's really crazy. I remember very distinctly being 22 years old. It's not like I feel like I'm old now, but 22-year-olds look at me as if I'm some ancient guy. And what it comes down to is, you're right, that focus and understanding that time is your biggest asset and you can't waste it. John, I can see why you're starting to succeed so much. You're doing great things, and I'm really grateful you'd be on the show with me.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Jeffrey.
All right, see you, John.